I'd like to call this meeting to order. Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Elick?
Here.
Ms. Karstafen?
Here.
Mr. Bax?
Here.
Mr. Brubaker?
Here.
And Mr. Gebhardt?
Here. Would you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the September 18th, 2019 Elyria School Board meeting. I'd like to introduce our group up here. To my right is Board Member Kevin Brubaker. To his right is Board Member Jim Bax. I'm Greg Elick. To my left is Board Member Annie Karstafen. To her left is Board Member Mike Gebhardt. And to his left is our Superintendent Ann Slosh. And to her left is our award-winning treasurer, Joy Clickinger.
Got it back.
Okay, moving along. There's no board recognition, but I believe we may have a presentation today, Madam Superintendent?
Yes, President Elick, we do. We have Sam Flores from the Second Harvest. We have a current program that we work with them in the backpack program, but we are fortunate enough to be, I believe, the 4th district, Sam, to be having a food bank at 2 locations once a month. So Sam's going to come up and give you a real short synopsis of what we're going to be doing. Great. So this is Sam Flores.
Welcome, Sam.
Thank you. Nice to meet everyone. Stand.
No, you can sit if you want.
Either one, whatever.
So I just want to start off by saying thank you for being willing to host the school food pantries. Last year was our pilot year. We did start in Lorraine City Schools, Midview School District, and also Clearview School District. And we weren't really sure how it was going to go. These have been very successful in other areas all over the country, other food banks, and the year went very, very well. So overall, we distributed close to 300,000 pounds of food, so that's shelf-stable product, as well as fresh meat, produce, dairy, eggs, things like that. Mostly at middle school sites, and that was due to sort of the genesis of the program was born out of a collaborative that focused on middle school students. So some of the things that we saw throughout the year, we really saw buy-in not only from staff who were very happy to keep coming and volunteering. They saw it as an opportunity to interact with families in a new and different way. Some families that they hadn't seen for parent-teacher conferences, they would see and they would be able to talk to at the food distributions. And then we also saw other people in the community come into the school maybe for the first time. So a population that we've seen growing throughout our network are senior citizens. They now represent double digits as far as distribution percentage for a network as a whole, and for the school distributions in particular, they represented about 15% of the people who were coming through were senior citizens. And so they were able to interact with coaches who were there. We had people from food services print out recipes, and it was great to see them talk to parents and families about that nutrition piece as well. So it's a program that's really easy to combine with other services as well. And that's particularly why it might be suited to a school environment. So this year in Lorraine City Schools, for example, we're talking about bringing in community action to help people sign up for HEAP, which is the Utility Assistance Program. And then they're also thinking about doing a parent homework help night in conjunction with the food distribution. So it's been really, really successful, and we've been able to feed a lot more people than we anticipated budget-wise too. This is a year, and next year will also be a year where we're seeing a lot of state and federal food commodities, which means we're able to distribute a lot more at a lower cost. So for the whole school year, on average, we're seeing it was about 14 cents per pound is what the food costs were to distribute. So we're very excited to get started here in the district. I was just on the grounds of Elyria High School yesterday, meeting with the principal and some staff, and they seemed very enthusiastic, which is easy to make us very enthusiastic about it as well. So I just want to say thank you again, and I guess open it up to any questions if anyone has any questions.
Just
What locations?
Elyria High and Oakwood. And Elyria High, we're going to do the grand opening where we hand out the schedule and everything, and that's Monday night.
Monday? Okay.
And then we're going to have a location at Oakwood and have, it'll be at a different time. So it's, and I will introduce, Julie is the executive director of Second Harvest. She just joined us, and they are actually having a summit tomorrow on child hunger that I'm a part of, and talking about this. We're just really excited that it'll be there for our families and neighborhood families to be able to go in. And one of our service projects as administrators in the district is going to be to work those food banks.
Oh, okay. Now, will this be like weekly, monthly? How often will the food bank be open for?
So right now it's planned once a month at each location.
Okay.
And it runs for about it's scheduled to run 2 hours, but we see the bulk of the people come within the first hour and a half.
Now, is that only for families of that school or anyone within the city?
So it's designed as a community program, so anybody, can come and utilize the pantry. We have started gathering, only for about a month now, just tallies in Lorraine City Schools as far as who's coming to the pantries, what percentage are district families. And I think the district staff was surprised that, that percentage is very, very high.
Oh, wow, that's great. Questions?
I will make a comment. I had an opportunity, I think it was last fall, to participate on behalf of the city of Elyria, where they were actually separating the food and then boxing the food up and putting it on pallets to deliver to the schools at their facility on Baumhart Road. And the amount of food that goes through that facility is just crazy. But to be able to work that, I will tell you, it's no joke. I mean, you worked. But it was a good time, and I would encourage anybody that has time available to help do that, because those boxes, I think, were scheduled to either go to Clearview or Lorraine that we did, but it was a good time.
Okay.
It's a great community partnership, and we love working with Second Harvest. And I think it, as Sam said earlier, it's going to bring a different relationship with our families.
Great. That's a wonderful opportunity, and thank you very much for being generous and involving Elyria City Schools, too.
Of course.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
To get started, so thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
Okay, that's a wonderful opportunity and great news. Thanks for sharing that with us. Visitor comments. I believe we do not have anyone signed up a week in advance to speak for 15 minutes, and anyone signed up for today? Nobody signed up for today to speak for 5 minutes. So we'll move right along on the agenda. The minutes for the September 4th, 2019 meeting have been posted, and hopefully everyone's had a chance to look them over, and I'll ask for a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Have a motion by Board Member Brubaker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Bax. Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr.
Questions or comments?
Yes. In last month, it said that we had 2 students that were going, and I apologize, I must have missed this, that they were going to Lake Ridge, and we pay for that
Transportation.
To a private school.
Yes. Any non-pub, we are obligated to pay for their transportation.
Okay.
Other questions? With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Brubaker?
Aye.
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Okay, moving along. Treasurer action items. Madam Treasurer.
Thank you very much. My first item are the monthly financial reports for August 2019. My second item are the donations to acknowledge and express appreciation. We have several donations listed in the agenda. being United Way for school supplies of $150, Mr. and Mrs. Eric Riesing for backpacks filled with supplies valued at $200, Women of Faith of the Community of Faith United Church of Christ, a donation of clothing valued at $200, the Elyria Moose Lodge, a donation of school supplies valued at $250, United Way of Greater Lorraine County, a donation of school supplies valued at $300, Walmart, a donation of $500 to the Special Olympics, Mercy Health, a donation of school supplies valued at $400, and East Broad Street Church of Christ, a donation of school supplies valued at $200.
Wow.
My third item is to recommend approving the attached list of purchase orders in order to comply with the district's purchasing procedures as detailed in enclosure G3. Also, I recommend that the board authorize and direct the treasurer to execute and deliver the master electric energy sales agreement between the district and Power for Schools endorsed electric supplier, Energy Resources, LLC. And those are my items.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the treasurer action items?
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion by Board Member Gebhardt. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Board Member Karstoffen. Any questions or comments?
This master electric, is that like a?
It's a consortium for school
Okay,
districts.
that's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's right. Other questions? With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Mr. Brubaker?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Okay, Treasurer, other items, Madam Treasurer.
Yes, number one is to approve the permanent appropriations for fiscal year 2020 as detailed in enclosure H1. Number two is to approve the amended certificate of estimated resources for fiscal year 2020 as detailed in enclosure H2.
Okay. Okay, so we have two items in Treasurer Other. Do I have a motion to approve the Treasurer Other items this evening?
So moved.
Motion by Board Member Karstoffen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Gebhardt. Any questions or comments?
I just wanted to make a couple comments on
Sure.
the permanent appropriations. That is a requirement that we have to do prior to September 30th each year. And I gave you information earlier comparing the expenditures of last year to the appropriations on the agenda for this year. And most of them are pretty much cut and dried. What comes in goes out, your grants, your special revenues, even the bond retirement dollars. But the two that are probably the most flexible are general fund and capital projects. And general fund, as I mentioned in your update, we believe that we can contain the cost to approximately what last year's costs were. And capital projects, that's basically driven by what we think will be built and what the state will fund us for. So.
Okay. Great, thank you for pointing that out. Any other questions? With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Mr. Brubaker?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Any other reports this evening, Madam Treasurer?
No.
Okay, moving along, do we, on the OFCC, OSFC Sports Complex, I believe we don't have anything on the agenda, but want to do a little follow-up on, I see that Jake's not here today, though. We had a wonderful little tour of with the board of the facility before the first home game, and there were another number of items kind of on the checklist. I was just wondering, maybe Madam Secretary or Madam Superintendent, could you just kind of give us a update on kind of where we're at with that? I've had a question by a couple of parents about the baseball field.
Sure, sure. The baseball fields, I met with Mr. Carmody and Mrs. Beck. on when, familiarizing myself with when these things will be done. What I've been told is the work that's going to be done, the more in-depth work of really kind of overhauling the fields, will be done at the end of the season this spring, because if they started now, it would not be ready to play. So they chose to get the playing season in, and then they would have, if they start right at the end of it, they would have enough time.
Is that
what-
because they use those for football also over there? Is that the reason why?
The main field they do not use for football. I believe there were some tournaments set up, was what I was said, over the summer. But I also think that just trying to get in line with what they were doing, coming in at a late time, that's what was picked up from our conversation. Okay. I'm 20 years older now. Flash up.
Okay. Oh,
That means
We're awake.
all right.
But my questioning over and over was, now we have, I will tell you, we have designated one of our grounds crew people to only work on the fields right now. And I believe they're trying to overhaul them as best as possible to get them in good condition for the season.
Okay.
But then as soon as the season's over, they're supposed to get I believe there's some drainage tiles going in and all of that work. They did put the first coat, they're working on the second coat on the, not clubhouse.
Field house.
Field house, thank you. Field house of it, but it's looking better, but we have some work to do out there.
So is there a way, because as we were on the tour, there were a number of things said that were going to be done over there,
Yes.
kind of on that,
I can get you
eastern
an update.
corridor. Maybe if you could have Jake forward us
Sure.
everything that still has to be done, and maybe
Sure.
an estimate of when he thinks that would be done.
Right.
That would be wonderful.
Absolutely.
Any other questions on the complex?
That'd be great.
Do you have a question?
No,
Are you sure?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. So moving along, it looks like we're up to superintendent action items.
Sure.
Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, President Elick. First of all, to approve the payment of stipends as listed below for some training. Also to approve, we have several overnight field trips coming. First one from Prospect Elementary will be going to the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. The next three, and I'll put them together, are all three middle schools traveling to Washington, D.C. Then we have our annual STEPS contract with, which is an alternative placement for some of our students. We have a non-public agreement for Vincent with Elyria Catholic, and that concludes my items.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the superintendent action items?
So moved.
I have a motion by Board Member Brubaker. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Board Member Bax. Any questions or comments?
at the Prospect, where do they stay?
There are dorms somewhere, not dorms, I call them dorms, cabins, that they stay on in that park. It's a great trip. I will tell you, I was invited by Windsor this year. I'm going to Camp Fitch for a day to see it, because now during the consolidation of buildings, you know, we have different buildings that go to different camps, so we want to see what they're all about and maybe pick the one, and we can pull it to several different grade levels. So I'm going to go out and see some of those camps myself.
Very good.
Okay. Other questions? With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Brubaker?
Aye.
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Madam Superintendent, do you have a superintendent other report for us today?
No, but I do have personnel
Okay, wonderful.
items. So first of all, to approve the appointment of the following certified staff, you'll see here 3 more of the community engagement liaisons. We have 1 more that's coming in from Elyria High, and then our grant will be fully hired, so to speak. We were up to, I believe, almost 75 substitutes now. We're getting close to doubling what we started with, so that's good news. Also to approve the supplemental contracts of the following certified staff. To approve the athletic supplemental contracts of the following staff. To approve the payment for up to 5 days of the employee's daily rate for completing the home education package. Troy Hill does a lot of work for us over the summer for home education. To approve the unpaid leave of absence for the following staff member. To approve the appointment of the following classified as detailed below. I see one of our old retirers coming back to Subforce there in Shotzi. To approve the 1-year limited contract for the following classified. To approve the following transfer of the following staff. And to approve the appointment of the following security officer. Jake Weber is going to be the lead, like Officer Figula is at the high school. He will be the lead at the Heights campus. I will tell you that we've gotten a lot of positive feedback on that, and the pilot over at Eastern Heights, and just a great relationship continuing.
Oh, wonderful.
And that
Okay.
concludes my items.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the superintendent's personnel action items?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Board Member Gebhardt. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second by Board Member Bax. Questions? The community engagement liaisons, those are funded by grants, is that correct? What exactly do our community engagement liaisons do?
The grant is the School Improvement Quality Grant, which is based around, we have schools that were our focus schools by designation and district support. And one of the reasons is the absenteeism, or the AMO, the gap. Many of these, all of these, had an absenteeism element. So one of the options was to hire someone that could work with parents to engage them in the educational partnership with the schools and plan events and support that way. So they're going to be working with community, with parents, with students, and it's fully funded from federal programs.
And this is to improve attendance?
Our
in school?
absenteeism rate.
Okay.
Yes.
Wonderful. Any other questions?
Is Jake Weber, how many hours will he be working?
There's a different one each day, I believe, and they work around their scheduled times, and they are there pretty much the full day, just like the high school.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, very good.
All right, cool. With nothing else, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Mr. Brubaker?
Aye.
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Madam Superintendent, do we have anybody here?
Yep, we have
today?
two. We
All
have
right.
two. Jamie.
Jamie, you're up. All right, who is with us today?
Okay, we have two lunch monitors from Crestwood.
Oh, wonderful.
Megan McKinney, she's coming from Substitute Food Service to lunch monitor at Crestwood. And Enid Schneidler, she's also coming from Substitute Food Service to lunch monitor at Crestwood. So welcome to the Pioneer family.
Friendly face. I grew up with Enid, I believe. Hi.
Great, welcome, ladies. Okay, Madam Superintendent, do you have a superintendent report for us this evening?
Just very short, I want to remind everyone, Parade of Bands this Saturday. We have a football game Friday. We have the Apple Fest all weekend. Parade of Bands Saturday. The art contest on Sunday at the Apple Fest. So those are all happening. 7 o'clock Saturday night for the Parade of Bands. And also, last night I was over making ice cream sandwiches for Rotary, and I will tell you that they started the new food program for some of our athletes and after-school club students that are there, and they said they were getting a wonderful response. So last night they were having pulled pork and
good.
chips for dinner, and a lot of the students were taking advantage of that. So love that new program is helping our students stay healthy. So
Did they eat any of the fried ice cream?
no,
Okay, good.
no, we held that back.
Great, okay.
That's it.
Great, thank you, Madam Superintendent.
I just have a question. What time will the band perform on Friday at the Apple Festival?
I think it's noon. Tim? Noon. I think they come down at noon, yeah.
Usually.
I will send an email out tomorrow for sure.
Okay.
Okay, moving along on the agenda here. Board of Education, we do have a couple items of business, first being a real property tax resolution amendment. I'd like to approve the First Amendment agreement to be entered into the city, amending the agreement for the release of the board's claim for delinquent real property taxes as detailed below. Then also we have an easement agreement to approve the resolution directing the board president and treasurer to sign the assessment agreement detailed below. So I have two items here. Do I have a motion to approve these two items?
So moved.
I have a motion by Board Member Karstoffen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Gebhardt. Any questions or comments? With none, Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Mr. Brubaker?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries. Okay, and then any other items for the board today for the good of the cause?
I just want to say that you spoke so eloquently today, and I just want to commend you on that.
Oh, well,
At
thank
the
you.
groundbreaking. You did a
Great,
wonderful
thank you.
job.
Yeah, that
Great
was
lesson.
Yeah, that was very interesting, and of course, Mary Wright, our historian, sent me all the information on that, so it was,
So you weren't alive in 1940?
no, I wasn't, but I did confirm some of the stuff with Mr. Gebhardt here, so,
I knew it was coming back to you.
no, I had to. Okay, all right, well, with that said, we'll move along to the executive sessions. I'd like to request an executive session for the purpose of considering the employment, appointment, or compensation of a public employee or official with no action to follow as authorized under Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Moved by Board Member Brubaker. Do I have a second?
Second.
And second by Board Member Bax. Madam Treasurer, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Brubaker?
Aye.
Mr. Bax?
Yes.
Ms. Karstafen?
Aye.
Mr. Gebhardt?
Aye.
And Mr. Elick?
Aye, motion carries, and that is with no action to follow. So have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you.